Hello, it's Kathleen, and welcome to the students only live stream that we're having every week on Thursdays at noon Eastern Time. So I'm so glad you could join me today. And our topic today is all about how to improve your English vocabulary. Now, this is a topic that everyone talks about, and everyone has a different opinion. So what I want you to do is take all of this information in and use what works for you. I have things that this always works for me, and it's what I love to do. Some of it might work for you, some of it might not. Something that someone else has learned and shared might work for you as well. So when it comes to learning English or anything really, but languages in particular, um, because there's just this whole new set of things that you have to you start from the beginning, from kindergarten per se, and then you have to learn it, again, keep on going. It's different than other subjects because, say with science or whatever, you haven't experienced it before, whereas you've experienced learning a language your own before. And so it gets extra frustrating, I think, for students because you're used to having, you've taken your steps and you're already where you are, and you're not used to having to go back to the absolute beginning of when you were first learning how to do things. Um, Again, learning a skill is different. This is a skill, but there's just that a different layer of it where whenever we go to learn a language, especially as adults, we get in this mindset where we're super accomplished and we shouldn't have to do these rudimentary things, because they feel like a waste of time for us. And so it's important to understand why learning to not only why learning vocabulary is important beyond just simply the basics of knowing what word to use to mean certain things to get your message across, but there are many other levels to the vocabulary, especially when it comes to English and other highly contextual languages. So English, I'm just going to first off, so that I don't get off track and so that you get the information that I wanted you to get, because I'm so passionate about this and things pop into my head. And so oftentimes I can get away from the original points I wanted. Sometimes I wander, but they all come back around. But I'm really trying to do better on giving you what you need right away. So, um, glasses on for this. So, there are three things that I've learned in my experience, not only learning my own language, because I struggled learning English. There were many areas that my particular class missed because mine was an experimental class. And they kept using different methods with us throughout our schooling. And so things were missed along the way. And so I really struggled. And so what I've learned is that three things. I had to first and foremost change my viewpoint of, what this even is. What is this learning? Do I have to do it this way? The teacher said this, it's not working for me. I have to change change my viewpoint and look at it differently. Look at this whole learning acquisition differently. I also had to rethink my approach to what vocabulary is, and particularly in English, as I've said, it's a highly contextual language, meaning, no, I'm sorry, I always get that wrong. We don't use a lot of context. I'm sorry. Other languages like Korean, I'm learning Korean. That is a highly contextual language. You have to understand what you're talking about in order to know what a word means or a phrase, because one word can mean many different types of things in different situations. So the word eat can mean lips, or it can mean leaf. There might be other things I haven't gotten there yet, but depending on what you're talking about. And so you have to be able to follow the structure. And again, for me, it's a completely new way of looking at how I put things together, and that there's just a different logic. And it is logical. I just haven't been trained in it. So that's been difficult for me. So I've had to learn to look at, just to rethink my approach to vocabulary. Um, and I will show you a couple of ways to do that. And then the final thing is that I had to really think about different ways. I had to brainstorm different ways that I could work this whole vocabulary acquisition thing into my life in a way that I would actually stick with it. Um, we've got so much going on in our lives that we just can't possibly fit it all in unless we plan for it. And this is a standard practice. So many people in so many areas of business and just life use this. You brainstorm the ideas, you plan it out, you fit it all in. So I had to do that. I had to find a way that would excite me enough to just keep on learning, keep plugging at it a little bit at a time, kind of like the Grand Canyon. It wasn't obviously built in a day, it was the water just gradually wearing away at the rock, digging it down layer by layer by layer, until you have this phenomenally awesome entity out there in geographical structure, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Um, it's so awesome. I lost my words for it. So I had to find a way to make that fit, and I did. And I put the time in, and I managed it, and to the point where I am fascinated by language now. I love language. I love my own language because we're not a contextual language. We have a ton of nuance in our language. Um, that I'm always finding new ways to say something more clearly or more creatively and expressively. Um, I can say the same thing in many different ways to reflect either the mood or the emotion that I need you to feel as well. So these are the 3 steps that I've taken. So let's go through them. Um, I will keep popping these on and off because I can't stand the glare, and I'm probably going to say this on every single live. Um, but I do need them to see my notes. So, all right. So the first thing, we're changing our viewpoint. So you need to ask yourself 3 questions. So, do you see learning and improving your vocabulary as drudgery? Is that how you look at learning vocabulary? Is it just, oh my goodness, I gotta take out my dictionary. And now I have to, okay, kindred, it's a noun. It means kin. And it as an adjective, it means related or of a similar kind. So is that how you see it? Just knocking off the words on your list and trying to memorize and figure out how to say them, doing your best and hoping you got it right? Well, 2 things. This is what really grabbed me about learning a language. Maybe I should have saved these for the end, but I get so excited. So the first thing I do is if you look at it as an exploration or as a safari, you're going on to discover all these new animals, all these new plants, and this whole completely different landscape in front of you. Um, it's an entire world now opened up to you. So if you can see it as a safari, as an adventure, whether you want to, maybe you like to walk in the woods and not on the plains. Picture a place that you love to be, and picture that place in a different location. Well, now you have this whole forest or desert or plain steppes, whatever it is, of stuff to explore and discover and what have you. And the more things that you can discover about this other language, English, is just a more in your toolbox, your communication toolbox that allows you to express yourself. You see yourself in a different light because you're learning a different way to communicate, and you're learning another culture's viewpoint and ideology, and just through the words that they use and the way they use their words. So think of it as an explorative, an exploration, an explorative, um, oh, what's the word I'm thinking? An expedition. Thank you. That's my word. So think of it as an expedition, but also because the English language in particular, this still applies to any language you learn, because there's so many levels. You've got your first level of the word and the meaning, and so that you can say, um, "Oop, I don't want to spill my water," but so you can say, "I have a cup in my hand." You can say, "Do you want this cup?" You can say it in a new language to someone who doesn't speak your language. So, so there's that. There's the basic thing. But then in English, because we use nuance all the time, you have to discover the many layers of meanings, and when those meanings are used. What are the situations? There could be a social situation, there could be, well, social. Anytime you communicate with someone, it's social. But is it a business situation? Is it a formal situation? Is it are you talking to your neighbor or a stranger on the street, or someone in a higher position than you? You have all of those layers. You have regional layers of things that you have to uncover. And so someone over here in the east or the west, someone in the east, this is my right, so east, will say things a certain way, but then someone in the west or the middle of the country will use that same word in a different way, and it will mean different things. And I've come to this understanding, dealing with all my different students from different parts of the world, um, that they come up with questions, but I was speaking with someone in California and they use the word this way. So I had to say, "Oh, well, that's probably because X, Y, or Z," and then I'll find out for them. But here we use it this way because ABC, So there's so many layers that you need to uncover when it comes to speaking English, that it learning your vocabulary doesn't have to be drudgery. It absolutely does not have to be drudgery. So the second question that you ask yourself is, do you see learning and improving your vocabulary as boring? Okay. So again, this is the safari or the expedition layered with the archaeological dig. I don't think I said that just previously, but you layer that with an archaeological dig. So picture yourself in your woods or your desert or your the plains, by the ocean, wherever is your favorite place to be, wherever you love to be. Picture yourself there, but in a new location, a new country, and you're walking along and you pick up a shell or you pick up a rock, or I've never been to the desert, so I don't know what's in the desert, but you pick something up that's in the desert. You look at the sand and you see that each of these different things, you see that the sand is different. It's still sand, but it's composed of different things than your sand in your place. And so you then go looking, and maybe when you pick up the sand, something that somebody dropped, falls through your hand, and there it is. Um or is uncovered as the sand falls through your hand. And so now you have this new thing, and then you have questions about that, and you have to go exploring and digging and finding out. So maybe you dig deeper and you find more things that other people left. And so, or if you're in the forest, you pick up the stone, you notice this isn't just a regular stone, it has a face carved in it, or it's an arrow, it's an arrowhead, or any other thing, like you notice something different about this stone versus the stone in your woods that you picked up, um, etc. And you keep digging, you dig down, you brush away the dirt and you find more things. Or maybe you like to forage for local vegetation, things that you can cook with or what have you, and you discover, well, in my forest over here, we have this thing and this plant and that plant, and oh, I can eat this root, and you have names for all of these things. But then you go to another forest someplace else, and you have to learn all about what's edible in that forest, and you dig and you look and you peek under the leaves, and you brush around the roots, and you look for the identifying things that say, okay, this is good, I can do this, I can eat this, and I won't die. um so really, if you think of your language learning in that light, I think it's really going to open up a love of learning your vocabulary, and you're going to want to do it all the time. I'm to the point now where anytime I look up a word, I look up the meanings of them. And this is one way that we can go on Safari. Now, I'm hoping that I can share my screen. We'll see. I've never done, oh, share screen. So let's see. Fingers crossed that I can do this correctly. Let's see. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, here we go. So, what I want you to do is, if you notice in the first question, do you see learning and improving your vocabulary as drudgery? Okay. So, what drudgery means, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to split the video. I will get better at that. Let's see. But drudgery, so this is what I did. So I looked up the word drudgery. Whoops. And oh, I looked up, let me grab drudgery. And I found, well, drudge means a person who does laborious or menial work. Or, as a noun, drudgery is boring or menial work. Now, if you're not familiar with any of those other words, you're going to have to look those up. So I do that. So boring, this is how I do it every time. So I had drudgery. So it means boring. Whoops. Oops. A-L. Okay. And so there we go there. So now we look up boring, and we find out that bore has several meanings. And the one that we're looking at, so there's 4 different meanings here. So the one that we're looking at Sorry, my pen is lagging a little today. So it means to weary by dullness. So wearied because of boring. W, sorry. Here's another thing. Don't ever be afraid of a bad speller. I was never a good speller. I still have to work on it, but I get by. I'm a writer now, so um, don't ever worry about your spelling. You can always look it up. Um, sorry, wearied by dullness. Okay, and so then the other word that I needed to look up was menial. I look them all up because even if I know the word, I still might not have a full understanding of the word or other aspects of the word. So, what did I say? Menial. So, always look it up. Ugh, okay. So, menial is an adverb, which means that it's an adjective. So, that means that it describes a noun. An adverb describes a verb, which I'll just give you a quick bonus lesson. A good way to remember the difference between those is think of so adjective, adverb, they both start with ad. So I think of an advertisement. So it's describing something. So an adverb describes a verb. So therefore, an adjective describes a noun. Okay, that's a great way to remember it. So menial means lowly or degrading. Sorry, this is just taking a minute. All right, so if you notice, so most people would say that these three words mean the same thing: drudgery, boring, menial, that they mean the same thing. But when you look them up, you find that they do not mean the same thing. They are similar, but substituting one for the other um, properly will really hone your message. So, if you notice the question, do you see learning or improving your vocabulary as drudgery? Do you see it as boring or menial? So, menial, take it down here. Most people, yes, it's boring. A lot of because of the approach that we so often take and we're taught to take about learning a vocabulary, we're taught to approach it in a menial manner, in a boring, dull manner. But drudgery has that added aspect of being lowly or degrading. So that is different than boring. So there are two separate questions that you need to ask yourself. If you simply find it boring, where you're wearied down by the dullness of it, that's different than feeling degraded by doing it. So as you can see, as you can see, um, language and vocabulary acquisition here in English is really a fascinating endeavor. And if you are able to change your mindset, change your attitude towards it, from a boring, menial, boring, degrading, dull task into this fascinating exploration, you're not only going to infuse a whole new life into your language learning, but you're going to be adding layers upon layers upon layers of nuance to your ability to communicate. You are going to be able to communicate in English on a level you've never experienced before. And I guarantee this. And if you don't, come talk to me and we'll figure out why. And I have never been known to be wrong on this subject yet. So, um, Really, I encourage you to approach it this way. The second thing, yeah, so by doing this, so by combining those 2, the exploration aspect of it, going on an expedition, a safari, whatever, as well as digging up, like, thinking of it as an archaeological dig, which it is. It's just not you're not looking for tangibles, physical items. You're not looking for the broken teacup. You're looking for how the development of the people. You're going deeper into the English speaking people by uncovering how they communicate, by uncovering the words that they use and compiling them and seeing how they all fit together. So it really is fascinating. And so then the third question you ask yourself is, do you find this is different, it's related but still different. Do you find that your pronunciation is slowing you down and making you um, self-conscious? It's easy to add words to your vocabulary journal and to, store them in your brain, in your vocabulary bank, as I like to call it. Um, but if you can't pronounce them right, or you're not sure if you are, or you're uncomfortable speaking them out as you need to do to communicate, then that's going to change, that's going to affect how you learn it. So, what I like to do here, there's three things I like to do. Um, I like to watch television and news and movies and different kinds of media. I like to, again, I'm learning Korean at this point. So I've joined a K drama club um, where a couple of times a week we watch an episode of a Korean drama, and the native Korean person explains what it's all about. Um, and I'll actually find the link. If anyone's interested in that link, pop it in the comments or the chat and let me know, and I'll get it. I'll put it in. Um, so I like to, because what this is, and again, you hear this advice a lot. Watch TV, and there's all these steps. Watch it with the subtitles. Watch it, without the subtitle. There's different steps. Or yeah, watch it dubbed or something. I forget what they are because it's I just don't do it that way. But the reason I watch them, and I do watch them right now with subtitles, but I'm now starting to learn to watch them without subtitles, because as I'm learning my vocabulary, I'm trying to listen for the words spoken in a natural context, and at a natural rate. And as I'm learning the different forms that the word can take, because there are different endings that are used depending on where it's placed in the sentence and what its job is in the sentence. So that obviously changes the pronunciation. So I watch the news, I watch sports, I watch television and um, documentaries and movies and any kind of different type of thing. I listen to children's stories as I go to bed. As I fall asleep, I fall asleep to children's stories in Korean. Um, and I'm finding that I'm able to recognize the words more clearly. So I'm understanding more. Again, I still have to do the work on the vocabulary. I still have to add those words and discover anything I can about those words and how they're used in different situations. Again, because Korean relies a lot on context, I have to train myself in that. So, this is a fabulous way to do it. So, I highly encourage you to watch all of these different types of media. Listen to audiobooks as well because you want to train yourself. Here's the thing that I think I haven't seen anyone mention yet. Everyone tells you, yes, you watch it because you want to listen for it at the conversational rate, but watching it also helps you see how they form the words. So, as a student, that helps me incredibly, because then I can mimic the word and I can mimic the mechanics of how they just produce that sound, which is the word. So I can mimic that. But as a teacher, it also helps me because now when I'm teaching someone who speaks Korean, I can understand why they're having difficulty producing this sound in English because these mechanics of Korean get in their way, or they have to retrain their tongue to do different things to make the sounds. And so it helps me as a teacher to understand how to help my students. But the thing that people miss when they give you the advice of, watching the videos and stuff as a way to improve not only your speaking, but for me, it's the vocabulary. It's helping to ingrain the vocabulary that I'm learning. And I learn new words. I hear, "Oh, wait, what's that?" And then I have to figure out how it's spelled, and then I go look it up. But so it sort of sends me on a language safari and a language dig um, in Korean now. But the thing that you need that I'm trying to get across is that watching the shows shows you the mechanics that and this is a thing that people miss, and this is another reason why it's so helpful to watch as well as listen. So, anyway, that was a little long, but we'll deal with it. Um, yeah, so the other thing that you can do is to listen to talk shows and audiobooks. Find your favorite podcast that's not a video podcast, um, and listen because, again, yes, you need the seeing it is kinda critical to help you with your pronunciation. So initially so that you know how to form them. Um, because again, when we're as teachers, when we teach our students, we exaggerate things and we take it slower, and so it doesn't sound like it does in a natural flowing conversation, and we come up with example sentences, and so there's more of a stiltedness, it's more stiff. um, it doesn't feel as natural as watching the conversation happen, watching the interactions, because again, there's intonation, there's how you accent a word, how you, the level of your voice, the tone in your voice. Is it a snide remark? Do they have, does their voice go up or down? All these different things all have to do with the vocabulary and the words and how they are communicated. Huge, huge thing that people often miss. And then the third thing that I wanted to say, oh yeah, so listen to talk shows. So then you now have seen how they're formed. So now you can listen and start to recognize them again without seeing it said. It helps you focus more in the back of your brain. And also if you're cleaning your house and you're listening to English, it's still getting in there, you're doing something else, but you're still learning. And you don't always have to be so intently focused. And I think as students, we put so much pressure on ourselves. We always think that we have to work harder in order to learn and become fluent. But when you think about it, in the exercise world, the advice is and the science has shown that you work your muscles to break them down so that when you rest them, during the rest period is when they rebuild themselves. So it's important to take a rest and not push yourself so hard to constantly have your face in the book. Um, it's important. So by listening to audiobooks and other things while you're doing something else, that you're still learning, but you're not stressing. Your brain is still resting, and it allows your brain to click into and sort of put all the pieces together that you're learning. And which is what I'm finding with the I've been watching all these different types of things in Korean. So now when I listen to the stories at when I go to sleep, I'm understanding them now. I might not be able to, I'm still having difficulty putting my own sentences together, but I can recognize the patterns and things like that so that I can say, oh, that means such and such. I hope you see what I mean there. Okay, so I know we're running out of time. So now we're rethinking our approach to journaling and vocabulary lists. So that's the second step. That's the um, that I do to improve my vocabulary, my own English vocabulary, as well as any other language I'm learning. Um, so I wonder if I can, let me just switch notebooks for a minute and then I'll pull it up for you because I want you to see what I'm doing. And I've started using GoodNotes. It's an app um, that you can use. Yeah, I'm going to show you the whole thing here. All right, so let me share my screen again. It's an app that you download to your phone, and it allows you to create notebooks full of stuff. You can add, journal templates. You can add planner pages. You can create your own. They have templates, and you'll see how I use the templates. So, and it's only like $10 a year for all this stuff. It's really amazing. So, I don't I don't have an affiliate with it or anything, but I will put that link um, in the description because it's just such a great tool that I've been learning about and using. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm just going to share the window. All right, so I don't know if you can see my face or not, but so here's how I set it up. So I've written it in Korean, and it's vocabulary journal. I honestly forget what I wrote. It's my Korean vocabulary, I think, is what that is, and then I have forgotten what this means. Might be notebook. I've forgotten, but I use this all the time now. So yeah, you can see I'm still learning. But here I've created a tracker of my practicing. So here's your highlighter tool here. And I practiced yesterday. I haven't practiced yet today, so I'm not going to mark that. So this is my own little thing. I took their standard planner page, their yearly planner page, and this is how I'm tracking my stuff for the year. And I've written down a key here. Um, you know, I've written that down so I know what things mean. All right. And so then what I do is going on to the next page. So this is how I've created. I don't have an iPad. I have Windows. So this is how I've created my own flashcards. I've written the word here in Korean, and way down here, I've written the meaning. Okay, so here's where I put a picture of the definition. And then I write a sentence, and I've color coded the sentence to match with the words so that I can see how it's put together. So you can do this for your English as well. Write your word in English. So you'd write water up here, you'd picture that you like and add it in. I had to add these stickers. Um, It's super easy and it's actually fun. So I then wrote the sentence. I didn't write this English first because I'm trying to learn Korean. I made myself think of how do I write this in Korean? And I had to work through it and do all my research. And so I wrote it down according to their rules. And then I wrote the English and matched up the different pieces. Now, down here, here's my little sticky note. So, here is where I write notes of things that I have to remember. So this is my flashcard notebook of sorts, okay? You can do the same thing in whatever way is going to work for you. I created this template by simply adding the little stickers, and this is what works for me. So here's the page 2. So K, I K, I'm still again still working. So here's my statement. Okay, and I had to think about it first. I made myself write it in Korean first, and then I wrote the definition. So, but I had a question, so I added this to, know that I still need to get that answer. So, what role does the possessive play here? And this is my understanding of um, how you denote a possessive in Korean. So, I need to work on sentence order, so these are the notes that I chose to write. You can do whatever you want. You can work this out however you want to do it, but this is how I use it to track my Korean and to make Korean interesting for me. Um, I'm gonna stop sharing. Wait. Um, okay. Well, we might just see that. I'm not Stop streaming. Okay, there we stop sharing. I don't want to stop streaming. All right. So actually, I do have to stop streaming, but so I wanted you to see so you rethink how you approach your vocabulary. It's more than just understanding, but it's more than just memorizing the word and the definition. There's all these ways that you can use a vocabulary journal to really help you understand. So I use my journal. I'm creating a flashcard type journal, but I'm also creating a journal that helps me understand sentence structure. I'm creating a journal that helps me, okay, what questions do I have so that I don't miss getting them answered? It keeps track of my questions and I can then go fix it in my vocabulary journal. So there's all different ways that you can think about a journal and how to use it. So, and then the final thing is to just brainstorm different ways that you can focus and commit to learning something about learning your vocabulary or improving. I mean, because again, with English, because there are so many levels and so many meanings and nuances all over the place, you're broadening your vocabulary by looking up a word, but you're improving your vocabulary every time you dig deeper into that word to understand it better and find out all the different things about that word, where it's used, why it's used. Is it used the same all over the place, or are there differences in location? So there's so many questions you can ask about vocabulary that help you dig deeper to improve it. Um, Again, people think that uh, I know I'm gonna go long. I've already, but let's just look up improve. This is my trusty dictionary. I love this thing. HIGI improve. I do that all the time. Right. Anyway, impulsive. So let's go to impression. Prompt to improve. Okay, to make or become better, to enhance, perfect, polish. Um, Oh, it goes on, modernize, refine, overhaul, um, all of there's a bazillion. I say that's my standard term, a bazillion, um, different meanings for the one word improve. And each of those synonyms has their own level of nuance and meaning, etc. So, but most people think to improve my vocabulary, I just have to learn more words. No, it's part of it. You're broadening your vocabulary there, but you're not improving it by just learning more words. You improve your vocabulary by digging deeper into the different meanings and fully understanding the words that you're learning, not just understanding what they mean on a surface level. Digging deeper, finding out as much as you can. That's how you improve your vocabulary. And these are different ways to do that. Um, Improving your vocabulary you are going to notice an immeasurable difference from your ability to speak and communicate in English, which is all part of your fluency. And for those of you who are taking exams, proficiency exams, this is invaluable to you because you will be able to write your essays in a natural native way because you will understand. You really need to understand what you're talking about so that you can talk about it. Okay, I have the teachers live coming up, so I will have to cut it off here. But I really hope this helped you. So I know there's not much time spent on the brainstorming, but that's really up to you. Think about different ways. Just knowing these four different things that we've talked about, seeing how I use my vocabulary journal. What are some ways that you can work this into your life? And really think about improving versus expanding. They're both important, but if you want to move from just being proficient to being fluent, um, then you need to have both of them for the reasons we stated. So save this post, bookmark this, do whatever you have to do, share this with everyone you know, because this is really going to help. Um, Try it out. I'm coming here to help you. So try this out and let me know in the comments what it's doing for you, how it's working. And oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is if you're having trouble with your pronunciation, I'm starting a conversation club. So there's a link to put yourself on the wait list. So as soon as it's open, I will send you an email invitation, and you can join it there. So we're shooting for June. So it should be open in just a few weeks. Okay, so sign yourself up for that, especially if you're having trouble. Again, it's something similar to this where we work on your pronunciation, we talk about things together. It's real life conversation. We discuss things that are important to you as students in the world, what have you. But there's also that correctional aspect of it, the teaching aspect of it. So you will get real live help in your pronunciation and improving your pronunciation. And my goal is not to eliminate any traces of your native tongue when you're speaking English. My goal here is you have to be you, or else you're not going to be communicating properly. Your message won't get out if you're not allowed to be yourself. My goal here is to help you get your message out in your way, with your personality and your cultural background still, but in a way that English speaking people will always understand, so that you can be seen in in the light of an intelligent person so that the language issue is just taken out of it, and that it's just simple communication between two people. Um, so that's my goal for this, and that's my goal for coming live every week, is to really help you to communicate in your best way, in the most effective manner, so that English speakers will be able to understand you, and just to not even think about the fact that English is not your first language. So that's the goal here. So, all right. Thank you for joining me. Um, all the information is in the description. So again, like this video, assuming that you do, like this video, share it with people. Let people know about it. Tell them to come and join us. The more the merrier, as we say. So, all right, you have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Okay, bye bye.